Now, sometimes I think that people could just change their names and move, and you could film some shit, and then it really not happen, right? It's just on film, and then you think a type of way. So as I think about 24th and 5th, I lived in apartment 603 here. And as I lived in apartment 603 here, I had to go to court and be removed because they raided my home, and they found a bag of weed seeds. It was about a half ounce of weed seeds, orange book of zigzag papers, and an air pistol. And my lawyer at the time told me it was easier just to move out versus fight it, and then I wouldn't have the eviction on my record and I could move. And that was, I want to say 95, 96, because I had Shayla and I was pregnant with little Michael, right? And as I was raided, Carl came running across this here bridge, and he came up in my apartment similar to Tom Lydon. Carl didn't get buzzed in. Carl just came into my apartment area and was going to take Shayla. But they didn't arrest Michael Cooper Sr. They arrested me. I had old warrants. They said that I had a ticket for not appearing in court for theft. Now, when I got to court, I don't remember if the theft was Sears or if the theft was Target. And at the time, I didn't have the wherewithal to argue with anybody. I just copped to the plea, said I was going through some shit, and the judge gave me 4 days in the workhouse as I was picked up on a warrant because they raided my home here. Shayla did not get social workers after her. My daughter did not have an interaction with county. I was living in my mother-in-law's home at the time. And I believe after we left Jeanette's house, we either moved on Bryant or James, one of those two apartments. I'm not sure. I'd have to get the records from the state of Minnesota. And because me and Minnesota right now are arguing about my high school diploma, where Jackie Baker said she looked up my record and couldn't find it, where my aunt Mays, who's now Mary Bird Johnson Roy, looked up my record and she said she couldn't find it. I started to think about that first locker that was brought when I had to leave 2949 Sheridan. And Michael Cooper Sr. didn't help me with that locker. He didn't pay any bills on that locker. And as I bounced from job to job with 2 kids, I tried to pay for that locker. That locker was from 2949 Sheridan, where it had my high school diploma. My mother had given me my high school diploma when I moved out of Thomas, and it had been burned in a fire. I had some boxes in her garage, and when that garage caught on fire, she said, "Come get your stuff." So I did, and I had it with me, and my diploma was there. And I'm not really in the mood for Bobby Joe Champion today. I'm not in the mood for Louis Farrakhan. Let me tell you what set me off. That African at the door at this shelter. I began to feel, again, tracked, tapped. I began to feel like they were going through my shit. I began to feel like under Barack Obama, the international consulate, through Oprah Winfrey, where she had this group of students come from Africa, now come to certain states that she handpicked through Barack in his Barack deal, where they are now being in my state. They were educated 4 to 8 years, and they've now blended into my society. They're on my city council, they're on my Senate, they're on my congressional seats. They are now interfering with my way of life and my beliefs. And because they're interfering with my way of life and beliefs, I started to go back to when they added African/Black. And I always crossed off African and circled Black. Because for me, the separation was based on language, culture, and the way we looked. It was said to me, as they studied brains and craniums, that a cranium was shaped a specific way when you were born in specific areas based on the environment, the sun, the air, water that you got. So again, your looks might be different based on these things, where you could group people up based on the color of skin, the way of life, and the language that they use. I pride Minnesota on the education that they gave me from 1974 to 1989, where I graduated from BYC. And when I researched my son, I said, I bet Jim Long did the same thing for me, because by the time I was in 10th, 11th grade, I had enough homeschool credits, I had enough MCA, IQ, SAT, ACT tests that we took, that he gave me, that said I graduated. So in 89, I had actually way more education than I should have. And what Jim said to me was, you have to work on your writing, because see, all they had us do at PYC was just one paper, right? Now back then, we didn't have EBD, OHD labels. I was just told I flunked. I didn't make enough credits. You had to reach a threshold to be considered an 11th grader, and because I didn't reach that threshold of numbers, they flunked me, put me back in the 10th grade, where they said at Henry, if I stayed, I would have repeated the 10th grade. So I left and went to PYC, where I got to just make up credits, right? So Jim had me make up credits. Like I said, 88, 87, I should have graduated that school year, but I graduated 88, 89, so that in the fall semester of 88, by the end of December, I had graduated Mary, Jackie, in my business. Now remember now, Kim, Minneapolis School Board, when Jackie Baker, Dayer Baker, said I should have been paying attention to my daughter's grades, that meant her mama was snooping as a teacher. Did I write that bitch in my motherfucking report? My essay? Did I write how you should have lost your teacher licensure for investigating grades that you had no access to, Aunt Jackie? No, I did not. Did I sue you for gossiping about my daughter's C-level, bitch? No, I did not. What I did do was talk about how you went through school as Dayer had a daughter. I talked about how you going through school, wanting to be a teacher, using your granddaughter, gave her access to a routine, a education that most kids wouldn't get, because they're not trying to have a teacher as their grandma. Like when I had an EA, my grandpa at North, Bobby, and I chose not to go to North. And you know what? He didn't even work at North that year. He retired by the time I got there, right? I didn't like North because I said the way they, again, carried themselves was different than me. You see, I like blending in with the normal people, even though I just thought I was a little overeducated. I thought I didn't want to wear my church clothes to school every day. I liked my jeans. My mother said I could not wear a scarf and rollers, so I had to do my fucking hair. I had to look appropriate, but I did not want to wear my church clothes to school every day. And when it came to the uniforms, be very clear, although they all looked alike, when it got down to the motherfucking shoes, the coats these kids was wearing after school, the clothes they put on, the places they went, it still affected them. So no matter what you did, it was about the way you taught your children to think, right? You prejudice ass motherfuckers, that shit starts at home. Mary, Jackie, Linda, right? So I'm not in the mood. Christmas Eve, Bobby, Louis Farrakhan, Keith, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, or motherfucking Biden. Take your motherfucking pick.